Hello and welcome to Frank's World live stream or data driven live stream. Haven't really settled on the brand. Andy and I should probably work that out. Uh, my name's Frank Lavinia. You can catch me on the various social platforms at Frank Diggs Data. You can check me out also at franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and impactquantum.com. So, one of the things that kind of has come up over really starting since Thursday, I think it was Thursday. Um, so, one of the things I'm back that franksworld.com has a lot of blog posts. In fact, I'm going to start sharing this, but I internal processes. I have multiple internal processes that really can force multiply what I do online, right? And this is something I've talked about in other streams and other feeds, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want me to go and kind of talk about that, please let me know in a following stream. All right, I had way too much coffee today. Ooh, I'm really washed out. I got to. I actually picked up some new lights. So I'm going to install them and whatnot. But I think what's doing that is the ambient light that I have set up here. All right, so I'll step back from the camera. Hopefully that helps a bit. Where was I? Yes, governance, and what this has to do with haircuts. Not really. So one of the things that I've talked about before in previous streams is I have a number of automated tools that help me basically multiply or maximize the input. I can max out what I do. Big shout out to Ed Milet. Maximize what I can do online, right? And how we can maximize my brand, how can I maximize every activity I do. I can multiply that kind of online. One of the things that I set up was Power App Flows. And if you've not played around with Power App Flows, they are astoundingly. And so if you let me and if you it's still on my Twitter feed actually, if you go check that out at Frank Diggs Data of um, um, number of it's not telling me which ones failed. So I have a number of Power App Flows set up, and what happened was the idea was that every time I publish to my YouTube channel, which the URL is franksworld.tv, it would also create a blog post automatically. This was all done with Power Apps Flow. Very amazing technology. Basically, it had a listener on the YouTube channel, and it would go and it would hit a WordPress API that would then log into my account and then post an automated blog post, right? Because the amount of things to do, always think in systems, I think is the and I think it was Lauren Tickner. System stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. I think that's what it is. So ultimately, I had set that up. Now, before I had my Office 365 tenant signed up, gosh, still when I was a micro test like developer tenant, and time, I would get the two confused because it's very easy if you have multiple tenants to forget which one you wrote stuff in. So I had written something that would basically make a call out to the REST API that the YouTube API is based on, but I'll do it within Power Apps. And it was largely, I wouldn't say it was no code, but it was very low code. That was something I built, and I lost it. I was like, how could I lose the Power App flow? So, a squirrel ran by, I forgot about it, right? So it kind of went on with my life. And until Thursday, Friday, Saturday, basically whatever happened, there was some glitch in the matrix, and every single video I posted in maybe the last 2 years was suddenly automatically being converted to a blog post. So about 150 blog posts. So I log in one morning and I see like there's 125 blog posts for the month of November. Now I do strive to hit very high blog post numbers, but even 125 on like a third of the month was definitely, I haven't hit that level yet. So it turns out most of them are automatically posted from YouTube. And I basically says if it's new video upload colon, then the title of it. So that's how I know that's what it was. So I quickly logged in to my feed, to my Power Apps console on my Data Driven Media account. And there was no blog post. There was no Power Apps flow that does that. And there were others, but not what I want, what was causing the bug. So that made me a little concerned. Like, where the heck is this coming from? Like, where is this coming from? And then I'm racking my brain. Could it still be a Power App flow on my Microsoft account? Frank at Microsoft.com, in which case I don't have access to that. And by now it was probably shut down. So I'm sort of racking my brain, like, what other tenants do I have? Part of a build in a day type workshop. Could it be that tenant? But that was destroyed, basically that week. And so I'm racking my brain trying to figure it out. And then I remember I set up for a developer account. So I go and I try to figure out what my credentials were for that. I log in, lo and behold, Power was there. Along YouTube API, REST API call. So it's cool. It turns out that in Power Apps, you can actually make direct REST API calls and then use the JSON parser to pull information from it, which is something I had done and I'd forgotten about. And I was like, oh, that's where it lived. Oh, here's the troublemaking app. So troublemaking flow. I keep calling it an app. I just turned it off. And lo and behold, thus far, hasn't turned back on, and the spam has stopped. Now, this brings up an interesting problem that I've had with Power Apps, governance. Now, one guy, right? Andy and I, when we do the podcasts, we're two of us. We don't have a team. We don't, we use these tools to kind of leverage our ability to create content once and kind of multiplex it, elsewhere. And that makes me wonder, like, what's the governance model look for that, right? I've been having a lot of conversations of late about AI and data governance, AI governance and data governance. But governance is, think of it like self-care apps. And how I kind of thought of it is haircuts, right? And like, why is the haircut a big deal? Well, my hair, once it gets over a certain length, it gets a little unruly. And have not streamed a couple of times because I'm like, because I wasn't happy with my hair look. I know that sounds stupid, right? But I was like, you know what? Today I had a chance and got my hair cut. And it's kind of like, it's a stretch to kind of combine the two, but maybe it's not that much of a stretch. When you build, right? Even if it's just for yourself, even if it's just it's for your job or your work or whatever, they're depending on the size of your organization, there's generally processes and templates in place to kind of manage that. But when you're doing it kind of just on your own or just with one other person, and it's not your day job, and it's just stuff you built to make your life easier, I see this a lot with kind of the gadgets I have set up around the house, whether that's, you know, the smart electric plugs, the streaming video I have from security cameras around the house. You know, when they go down, how do you, you know, what's the, you know, what's the yes model? What's the support model, right? Other than, you know, turn it off and turn it back on. And if I'm not here and I have to walk somebody else through it, it's kind of annoying. So it's just interesting how governance isn't just for large enterprise projects. Wow, I'm really washed out. Governance isn't just for, can I go back? There we go. Governance isn't just for IT projects or large projects. They are part and parcel, I think, of any software that gets built. Now, it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to write, you know, large documents and things like that. But it just has to be something about when I create something, you also think, and not so much when you create, but when you deploy it, right? Like this, this Power App Flow has been happily running perfectly fine for the better part of, I would say, a year and a half, and it only failed, you know, last week, which is an interesting on several levels, but, you know, not the least of which, I had to really think back and dig through my memory to figure out, when did I write that? Where did it go? I thought I had migrated it to my proper tenant, but apparently I didn't. And it's just fascinating. So I had, you know, one of the core tools to what I built out for the blog, for multiple blogs actually, is a product I call Dingo, right? Which I'm on the fence whether or not I'm going to release wider or open source it. Not really sure. But Dingo is something that I currently do actively maintain and kind of, I wouldn't say I have a governance model around it, but, you know, if something breaks, I do have a kind of recourse, and, you know, I know where the code is and it's in GitHub and things like that. Have a couple of contributors. We're testing it out. But I even got it working on the Mac, which maybe that's worth a live stream. I don't know. But if Dingo breaks for one reason or the other, and there's a couple of dependencies that it does have, you know, it's in my head, like, how to fix that. Same thing with this Power App Flow, right? If I had no idea where this was, this thing would have been going on forever, which usually when you think about low code, no code, you think about removing all the disciplines of traditional software development. That's not true. It's still a software product, you know, in a very real sense. And a former coworker of mine at the MTC in Reston basically said the same thing. Just because there's no code doesn't mean you don't have to think algorithmically or thinking in terms of code. It's a fascinating look. And the same holds true with the whole DevOps and governance, right? Because DevOps is, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this, but if you look at DevOps a certain way, it's like a governance framework, right? Something happens, you fix it, you deploy the fix, and it goes on and on and on. And I think there's parallels for MLOps as well. I think those parallels are pretty self-evident. But so remember, kids, as you write software, as you rely on software that you've built, even if it's just you, even if it's just a, you know, quick thing, always have in the back of your mind what the governance model is. For me, I should have done a better job of moving stuff off that development tenant and moving it to the other tenant, although I should have done a better job of noting where that was, because it was so good in the sense that it was so effective. I forgot about it, right? It would just automatically post. And until it broke and, you know, made a couple hundred posts, which, you know, maybe I should put a limiter on it, right? Like, if the chances of me uploading, you know, 50 videos in a day to YouTube, pretty low, right? I would say beyond 2 or 3 is almost impossible, you know, very low as well. So it just goes to show you that good software engineering discipline should apply to low code, no code projects. That's basically it. Plus, you should always take time to get your hair cut and make sure you're always confident to go on live stream, because I do miss the daily live streams that I've been doing. And part of that is that the lighting isn't quite set up right perfectly yet, in my new office setup with the new fancy desks. And but ultimately, let me know what you think. Like, have you experimented with these low code, no code tools? Low code, I can't talk. Actually, I also have a whole bunch of automated flows in repurpose.io, which is an awesome product, by the way, too. Shout out to Hani Murrah for that one. But I've also not really logged into that for a while because, again, it works so well. I don't have to think about it. I should probably document this stuff, even if it's just like a OneNote notebook, or me recording a short audio or video clip for myself that, hey, you did this, like this is what this does. Now, part of that is that I no longer rely strictly on Facebook Live to push content out, although that might change because I know Andy's headed out to an event shortly, and I'm headed to reInvent. So I do plan to do a lot of live streams there, and you'll hear more about that in the weeks ahead. But just some food for thought for this Monday afternoon. Hope you're having a great one, and that's all I. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on governance. Let's be real. Not everybody cherishes governance, but it's one of the necessary things, even for kind of homebrew projects. End the stream, and thank you for watching. Wait, it's not moving.